Sound matters. Be heard. Welcome to the podcast where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes tips to make your own show sound truly spectacular. This is Podtastic Audio.
Hey, what's happening? Thank you so much for listening. I'm Chris, of the Chris and Christine Show podcast. You can find out all you want to know about that show at chrisandchristineshow.com. And today on Podtastic Audio, I want to take it back to the basics because in the studio live right now, I have my oldest son, Jacob. How you doing today, Jacob?
Pretty good.
He just turned, how old are you now? You just had a birthday, right?
Yeah.
How old are you now, buddy?
13.
13 years old. So you may not know this, but when you do turn 13 years old, you are allowed to actually have your own email account. Do you ever think about that?
I already have that.
Wait, what? You're supposed to wait until you're 13 to actually get one done.
Oh, I just said I was like 20.
Did you really? You lied on this? You were 20, huh?
Yep.
Well, if you're doing things the right way, you're supposed to be able to, at age 13, get your very own email all set up and ready to rock and roll, ready to go, man. So with a 13-year-old having your own email, what do you do with your email?
I use it to like sign in and stuff, you know?
That makes a very good point because with basically anything you do online, like anything at all, you really do need an email to do it, right? You literally can't do anything without an email on the computer. So especially if you want to start a podcast, you need an email because that's how it all starts, man. Everything revolves around having an email. And now being that you are 13, you actually get to have your very own legal email all to yourself, just you. You go to Gmail, you can set up an email, Jacob, whatever you want it to be.com. Whatever you want it to be as your email, and you are ready to go. Not only can you have your own email, but because you have an email, you can have your own social media accounts. And because you can have your own social media accounts and your email, you could, in theory, if you wanted to, start your very own podcast. Well, check that out, buddy. How exciting is that, you know?
Yeah.
So are you familiar with podcasting? I know you are because you've done one with the other two boys, right?
Yeah.
How's it going for you?
Pretty good.
Yeah, so it's you and Ezekiel and your little brother Mason called the Gem Boy Show, and you guys actually will sit around. I know Ezekiel, being that he's older, he's 18 now, he set everything up under his account name. So the podcast, technically it's under him, but it's all you guys together on the show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have fun doing that and that sort of thing. But if you were to start up your very own podcast today, like just the Jacob Show, what would it be about, you think, if you were to do a podcast?
Probably about sports and football right now.
You like football?
Yeah.
You know, as we record this, the Kansas City Chiefs just won the AFC Championship game.
I know, and they're going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, how exciting was that? You know,
I'm really excited, and we're going against the Eagles.
Oh, that's so much fun. You know, your favorite team is going to the Super Bowl. It was a close game last night. It almost didn't happen because Mahomes got hurt. He had a bad throw, and he was limping off the field. I saw him like, oh no, there was tie game towards the end. I gotta wonder if they're gonna make it or not. You know. But they did, and they pulled it off. So if you want to do a podcast, say about sports or your favorite things, here on Podtastic Audio today, I'm going to go over what things a 13-year-old like Jacob would need to basically start your own podcast, which really isn't much. So the very first thing you would need, Jacob, of course, would be you would need your very own email, right?
Yeah.
Like, so whatever it could be. But if you're going to do a podcast, before you even get that far ahead, the first thing I would say you would probably need to do is think of the name of your podcast. Like when you think of a name of a podcast, you got to think of something so clever that when people say the name, they know exactly what the show is about. So for example, if you wanted to say the football show you want to do, maybe like best NFL football with Jacob or something like that, you know, or football rocks with Jacob or NFL football with Jacob or something along those lines, so that when somebody sees the name of your show, like, oh, I know exactly what it is. You wouldn't name your Marvel movie show Football with Jacob.
I know.
Because you'd be like, what? It doesn't make any sense. It's not, is that what it's about? So that's the first thing I would do with you is figure out your name's going to be, but you always can change it later if you don't like it. But I would try to get a name dialed in first, a name of your show first. And also think of, while you're figuring out the name, like figure out who would be the target audience to your show. Like who would be the ideal listener. Like hone in on who that person is. Like, hey, I imagine who they are. I can see them right now. It's the kid in class with glasses and wears a hat. That is the guy I'm talking to. That's the guy I want listening to my show. So you kind of hone the show and design the show for that person. Then everything kind of falls into place. You know what I'm saying? So that every time you're talking on the microphone about your sports and stuff, you're just imagining that person is listening. So you're like imagining him talking to that kid, Joe, or whatever his name is. So that's when you're talking to. So you got to design the show basically around like your topic and what your show is going to be about. So once you get the name figured out, that point I would figure out, lock in the email for that name. Now, it should be close to the title. It doesn't always have to be. Like, say your show is NFL with Jacob. Your email could be NFL with Jacob at Gmail or whatever. If that's taken, don't worry. You always can do something like NFL with Jacob 123 or something like that. Once you got that figured out, you got to lock in a media host. But I probably jumped the gun too far here. I would say that before you pick a name for your show, you probably should see if that name isn't already taken.
Oh, yeah.
It makes sense because what if you pick a name that somebody already else is using for their podcast? So you probably want to figure that out first when picking a name. An easy way to really do that is to go online, go on Google, or you can go on Listen Notes, listennotes.com. It's a big search engine for podcasts. If it's not in Listen Notes, the podcast name you're looking for, you can look in Apple. You can just Google it, or you can look in Spotify and just start searching names of the podcasts that you like. So maybe you don't like the name NFL with Jacob. Maybe you want something else like Football Fun with Jacob or something like that. Try searching those names up and see if anything comes up. If nothing comes up, you're pretty much good to go. Like that is going to be your name. It's going to be your podcast show. So once you get that figured out, then you get your email based on that figured out. And then you can decide where you want to host your podcast. Now, are you familiar with what a media host is?
I think so.
So it's a place you actually upload the podcast file to. Your podcast doesn't sit on Apple. It doesn't sit on Spotify. It sits at your media host. Apple and Spotify, they go and grab it. They go and grab it from the media host. So it's the one place where everything sits at, and they kind of all these apps go and grab it from there. So you upload everything to the one spot, the media host. Now, since you're just 13, and since you don't have a big, massive budget, I know you do have some money in the bank. I know you're pretty loaded. I get that. But let's just say you're 13-year-old, you're on your own, you want to do a podcast for the cheap, I'm assuming, because you don't have a ton of cash coming in. Then how about you do Anchor? Anchor is totally free. I'm not a big fan of Anchor, but if you're starting out, just start there. It's totally free to get set up there. It's fairly easy to upload a podcast there. Like I said, it's totally free. All you need is an email address and you're good to go. And you set up an account there. Boom, done. And then you always, like I've moved, you always can move later. If you don't like it there, you can take your podcast and move to another media host. There's like 100 different media hosts out there. Just pick one that you want to use and works best for you. Probably one that's been around a little while, one that's got good support, and probably one that you know isn't going to like all of a sudden close shop on you and you lose all your stuff. So that always kind of sucks too. So once you got your media host figured out, what you want to post there, next thing you probably would do is design some artwork for your show, right? Because you got to have your artwork for your podcast. Now the artwork has got to be 14 by 1400 pixels in a square, minimum by 3000 by 3000. Those are Apple specifications. It should be artwork that you created, not something you steal somebody else.
Yeah.
An easy way to get artwork that I would say, real easy way to do it, is take a picture of something and then you can crop it to a square shape. And then there's another app I have that you can like write something on top of it, like the Jacob show, NFL show or whatever on top of it. And that's a real easy way to do it. For someone that's 13, has no extra money to spend money on stuff, they can totally just like do that. And that'll be like your logo, but you always can change that later. I've used Canva, but there's a free version of Canva you can get into on the computer and you can play around with different logos and stuff and generic templates. You know what a template is, right? Something's already done for you. You just kind of like put in your words, replace their words with your words and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You can do that too. It really kind of depends, but I think that once you kind of get that all figured out, I mean, basically right now we're at a budget of like nothing. Like everything goes free so far. The email is free. The Anchor Media Host is free. You're using your own phone to take a picture to create your own artwork, which is free. Did that yourself, totally free. So basically, we're in for $0. I think you can afford that.
Yep.
You know, that's easy win right there. So the next thing you want to do is you obviously want to record something, and the one thing you need to record is what?
Microphone.
There you go. I mean, but you could use your phone if you wanted to. I've heard phone shows don't sound that great. You know what I'm saying? But you could do that if you really wanted to. So a basic microphone. In fact, the ones we started on the Chris and Christine show, you know what you paid for those?
How much?
$20 a piece for the microphones. They were super cheap.
Damn.
I went on Amazon. I said, hey, look up the cheapest microphones I could find. I found them and I shipped them to the house. So you can start off with basic microphones like that. In fact, I would recommend a microphone. Like, don't try to use your webcam on your microphone on your phone, like your camera phone, or maybe the webcam built into your camera on your computer, things like that. I wouldn't recommend doing that at all. I would get like an actual external microphone of some kind. It doesn't have to be a lot. It could be $20, $30. In fact, the microphone that I recommend would be the Samsung Q2U. Now that's about $50 to $70. I know. I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, especially for a 13-year-old, which has a small budget, I would think. So I think a $20 microphone will work just fine if you can get that. That's what I would start off with. And then you're going to need some software to record on your computer, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of software would you like to use?
I don't know.
Well, remember the one I told you about? The one you used for your other computer?
No.
Oh, come on. I was mentioning that Jacob should use Audacity. Because you've used Audacity before on the other computer. You used it before. You've played around with Audacity. And Audacity is totally free. It works off Windows, PC, and Linux. It works on all of them. So it's free. So there you go. So basically, your whole budget so far with Jacob Podcast, how much you spent so far on your podcast?
0.
So don't forget the microphone.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the microphone. So
$20?
yeah, $20 one, $20.
Yeah, so you're all in for $20. I think most 13-year-olds could probably afford $20 to get started. Now, this is doing everything on the cheap for free. $20, that's not very much. So once you got your $20 microphone all set up, you got plugged into Audacity, you record some audio, you get it all set up, ready to go, and then you can upload that to your media host, which would be Anchor, because that's totally free. And then you upload that to all of your places like the Apple, the Spotify. In fact, since Anchor is owned by Spotify, it actually is gets distributed to Spotify immediately. So you're already in Spotify just by being on Anchor. You know that? Super easy and super easy to do. So that's basically what it would take to have a basic podcast at age 13. Now, you said earlier you were talking about maybe having your friends on the show, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's lots of different ways to do that. Of course, I love using CleanFeed because it's free and it delivers very high quality audio. Unfortunately, I would have to say I would not recommend CleanFeed for a 13-year-old to figure out just because of the complexity of it. I mean, to do it right on the free version, now there's a free version you can do, but on the free version, you would have to have like each person you have on the show would have to have their own microphone and headphones set up, and they would have to know how to use it. Do your friends have podcasting gear, you think?
No.
Okay, so then that kind of screws that out of the equation, I guess. So you wouldn't really need that then. So you probably would. Gosh, what would you do? I know Zoom has a version you can do. They give you like 30 or 40 minutes for free. That might be your best bet to get your friends on the Zoom show, I call it. But because you can record all that stuff and you can keep a copy of it all and all that stuff. That's what I would recommend doing, I think, if you want to get your friends on. I'm sure there's other versions you can do to use and get it done. So if you had your friends on, how many friends were you like on at a time? 1, 2, 3, what?
Probably 1 or 2 at a time. Yeah.
Now, would you do them all remotely, or would you like to have them in the same room with you?
I don't know. Depends.
I think it's best to have people in the same room, like we're doing right now. But if you can't, for whatever reason, Zoom or whatever platform you have will work just fine. As long as you can get their audio and your audio is separated, and record it together, then you're ready to go. You can figure out Audacity, play around with that. It's totally free. So all in all, your podcast literally would cost you what? Maybe $20 for a microphone. If you decide to get that microphone, I'm sure there might be microphones even cheaper than that. I don't know. So imagine that, even less than $20 for your All In Jacob Show podcast, the NFL show. See, that's super easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, you almost could do the same thing with YouTube because YouTube's also free. And YouTube, you just use your phone to do that, right?
Yeah.
Now, what do you prefer better? Let me ask you, when it comes to podcast or video or whatever, do you like watching things on YouTube or on TikTok? What do you like better?
TikTok.
Why is that?
Because videos are shorter and I just scroll through.
Well, doesn't YouTube do those YouTube shorts they do?
Yeah, it's just the YouTube copied TikTok and
Yeah. Yeah, I know that Instagram Reels has something like that too. It's very
same
simple.
thing.
I love Instagram Reels. I can get sucked in that for hours just looking at different things. It's all based on that same short video. So I think short video is better than long video, right?
Yeah.
I mean, long video, it's like a TV show or something, or maybe a
movie.
A movie, yeah, pretty much. I know. I was watching something on YouTube the other day, and it was like a documentary talking about the history of the first Macintosh computer. And the guy was playing with an old one and going to different people and doing interviews, and they're playing around with them and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is like a well done. It's a YouTube video. He's a YouTuber, but it's like a very well done like TV show. And I know Mr. Beast does very well done produced TV shows for his YouTube, but it's like a TV show, really.
Yeah.
So, but you said you like the short form audio better. Now, why do you say that over like the longer stuff?
Because I just like TikTok better because I use it way more often than YouTube. Because like when you subscribe to people on YouTube, it gives you notifications.
Right.
I go on my phone and look at YouTube. It says I got like 30 notifications.
Oh wow, yeah, I get that too. I barely even look at I just pick the ones I want to look at and I just follow. But you know one thing about YouTube I notice is that when you're watching YouTube, it actually has this thing in their algorithm where it knows things that you've already watched. So it'll put a little column either below. I think on your phone it's below you, but on the computer it's to the right side. It'll show you suggestions of other videos to watch because of the things you watched. You're constantly like jumping from one video to the next. I don't think I've ever finished a video on YouTube. I've always like, oh, what's this? Click. And I watch that one for a little bit. Like, oh, what's this one? Click and go to the next video. So I'm constantly jumping around. With an audio podcast, that doesn't really happen that way because you're really not looking at your phone while you're listening to the podcast, which I think audio is so great because you can take it anywhere. Like you can listen to a podcast while you're riding your bike. You can listen to a podcast while you're playing basketball or running or playing sports or jogging or doing the dishes or whatever else you could possibly be driving a car. Whatever you possibly could do and not have to worry about like sitting there and physically like looking at a screen, which I think is the advantage of audio. But everybody seems to say the video is the way to go. Like video is the way everyone wants to go now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love video every once in a while, but I do believe, like you're saying, that the video works best in those small fragments, like the TikTok style or the YouTube short style. I think that works better there than it does in the, like, can you imagine sitting watching a podcast where somebody's just talking like you and I, and it's just the camera sitting right here and just showing us talking for an hour? How entertaining would that be to watch? Like, I can't imagine we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
we're just sitting here talking. So you can listen to that. That's the way I feel about it. So, but I know everybody has their opinion, and some people love the video because they want to see what we look like and see what we're doing. But we're not doing much. We're just sitting here talking to a microphone.
Yeah.
I mean, how much fun is that? But some people just they seem like they really hone in on that when they watch the video versus hearing things on the audio. But with the audio, I just feel like I can get more done. Like I could be doing something else while I'm listening to the show, especially if I'm driving at work and things like that. So Jacob, this has been so much fun having you on the show today. Now, if you're seriously thinking about doing a podcast, can I be your first guest?
Yeah.
Okay, can I be your first VIP celebrity guest on your show?
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. Well, Jacob, thank you so much for stopping by today and talking about what it's like to start a podcast for a 13-year-old, man. This has been so much fun. And I will catch you later, buddy.
All right, bye.